All right, so it's live now. Hi guys, thanks for tuning in. I got Ryan with me today, and we're just chatting based on some of the new stuff that's been going on. Mostly the 50% Lords and Heroes change that we saw in the Nagash End Times book that I haven't looked at. Have you gotten a look at it yet, Ryan?
The book itself, no. I mean, I've
Yeah.
seen the rules and I've seen his profile.
Yeah, so I the whole end times thing I've been kind of out of the loop of, and I see that's the direction they're going with I guess Chaos next and something after that. And I just thought it was going to be like a it comes and it goes kind of thing, just like all the other supplements. But it looks like it's here to stay based on the FAQ that came out today. That I guess was in the works for a while because it says updated in September, but it's towards the end of October. And so across the board, 50% Lords, 50% Heroes. What are you thinking?
I don't know. It's going to shake up the meta. That'll be interesting to see. I was talking about it with Anthony earlier, actually, and we were just saying that I'm a little excited. I'm a little nervous, but nothing that we've seen before now will still be valid, in a month from now.
Okay.
You'll see lists where, especially ETC, which kind of encourages that max heroes, max lords, you're going to see a lot more nasty things.
Yeah. So there's two parts to this, to the FAQ. And I just skimmed through it. There's only that change, just that plus the second thing being anybody can take the Undeath lore, which was already kind of the deal with the supplement of the End Times, but even like we treated it when we play, in the basement, we just kind of treated that as if we're going to use it, it's something that we tell each other about, like special characters or some experimental rules. Now it's not. Now it's just, if you play Warhammer, anybody could take Undeath. And it's just so weird because there's already rules and army books that kind of limit spells, especially for ogres, for example, where you can't take other spells unless you take one of this kind of caster, and yada, yada, yada. But now it's like, let's nullify that and just give everyone this lore, which is just weird.
Yeah. And we were just talking before we started up that I've already seen people discussing extensively where you bring half of your army in some capacity as casters, loading up on this potential now to have 50% of heroes and lords, and throwing a lot of magic into just rezzing additional models that don't count for actual victory points, and yet can still definitely turn the tide of a game. Especially if you're undead and have the ability to prevent crumble, which is still shaky.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I played one game with it, and it was fun, and that's what I thought and felt it was. It was something fun to do. Now it's part of the core game, which is kind of weird. I don't know. I mean, there's a couple different ways we can go with this conversation. There's the GTs and comp, but also the business aspect of it. Do you care either which you'd want to go into first?
No, it doesn't matter. Whatever you like.
All right, I guess let's talk a little bit of the GW business aspects. Making it, I mean, obviously, they want to kind of get this, they throw this in your face based on the fact that it's not in order of pages. You see the magenta FAQs, they always do it in page order, but this they're kind of throwing in your face, and that's what they want to do. But is it to sell more undead models? Is it to sell more heroes? Like, I don't even know if this is the best business decision for them, hero and lord-wise. Meanwhile, I guess it's going to get people to go buy undead units. I mean, are you going to go buy undead units for your High Elf army?
No. But, and this is why I think, I have a mixed feeling about it, but on the whole, I could see how they have a strategy for this, because I will look at it and say, now, well, okay, maybe I could run, instead of 1-star dragon, if I'm going to be full of cheese, I could do 2-star dragons. And now I need a 2nd-star dragon to do that kind of thing, Or like I was saying before, maybe I want to run 4 phoenixes. I don't have 4 phoenixes, so now I need to go buy them. There's that potential. Part of it, too, is that the moment you change up the game, whatever was working before for you doesn't anymore. And this is one of the only changes that they could make, which people wouldn't necessarily have the model sitting on their shelf to do. I have all manner of core units, special and rare, but I've kind of skimped on heroes and lords because I knew that I wouldn't need as many of them. You know?
Well, the person that says they want 4 phoenixes, they're going to go buy them anyway.
True.
The way I look at it is the people that are playing garage or basement Warhammer are going to go ahead and just buy those things and make up their own rules to begin with. It's going to be whether the tournaments and the GTs comp it out or not. Because if they don't, then yeah, hell, go pick up 4 more phoenixes.
Yeah.
But
it does open a lot of interesting strategies. Like some kid was talking about how he could run cavalry with chaos and do the same thing that elves do, run a whole bunch of exalted on horses on the front.
And then marauders in the back.
And then marauder horsemen in the back and have a core cavalry and do cavalry with chaos. So there's cool things I think you can get away with, but there's cheesy things too. It opens up this mess.
A huge mess. I mean, the character walls and the hero buses were already kind of ridiculous to begin with, as we experienced the other night, where it was Gutstar versus freaking Silverhelm bus with 5 heroes. It's just
six heroes.
6 heroes. Oh, my bad. It's Hero Hammer, and like we kind of off screen we chatted about this over text. It's losing the elements of war. Where in 7th edition, very MSU, I got my troops across the battlefield and that's it. Now it's just who makes the best hero and who gets him into combat first.
Yep.
And that's not Warhammer to me, nor is it a game I really want to play.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to show even more of a preference for the Death Star, for the cannon and war machine counter, right? Because if you can bring more lords and more huge monsters ridden by some hero, and probably more cavalry, if you're any sort of elf, then bolt throwers and cannons and those sorts of things make sense because you will need to stop, a zombie dragon and 2 terrorgeists and all sorts of horrible other stuff that's going to be coming your way. War machines do it, so you get into more polarized. I feel like the Death Star archetype versus the Gunline archetype, where you're going to be sitting back there waiting for these heroes to come and kill you.
Yeah. I don't know. I just, points-wise and cost-wise, I feel like if I could buy another hero now for $25, that's like a whole $50, $60 of infantry I'm no longer buying.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a pretty good point, too, though, because, if I'm starting out, Anthony, for example, right? Now he can field 2 Blender Lords.
Anthony, not the Sustainable Center. Our guy,
no.
Anthony.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
People are going to be like, he doesn't play Vampire Cats.
One of our friends.
Okay.
So he could very easily buy 2 Blender Lords, kit them out like crazy, make them look very nice, and spend proportionately less on the whole rest of his army. So I think there is this potential for maybe even new people to break in and say, oh, okay, I only need 40 models instead of 100 and something, to play. I mean, oh gosh, I think you could probably buy like 8 models for Chaos now and have an army. You could buy 4 Skull Crushers, 2 Chimeras, a Demon Prince, and then a whole bunch of heroes riding around on something, and you'd be good to go. Some chariots and core.
I mean, it kind of brings Warriors of Chaos back to, for me, if I was to go in this direction, I would start playing Warriors again. I mean, I wouldn't do the Demon Prince because that's overplayed, but if I could bring that many heroes, so few models to paint, and they're fun. And you bring a bunch of chariots as core, who cares?
Yeah. Well, it helps the armies that have a predisposition towards strong heroes, lords carrying the army. Demons, vampires, Warriors of Chaos, high elves to a certain extent.
Bretonnia. What's your take on Bretonnia?
Yeah.
You get more paladins and shit in there?
Oh, that's interesting. I would have to do the math, but that's actually probably encouraging for them, right?
I would have liked to have seen it that heroes and lords together increased to 50%, and themselves 50%, because now you can put 75% into characters and then
Sure.
25% core.
Sure.
Where I wouldn't have minded if it was all lords, like 40% is lords and then 10% is a BSB. You know, something like that, where they still drew a line, but it's just it's nuts.
But I mean, if you think of it that way too, um, even that way, right? 50% of your army,
Hmm
1,200 points, 1,250 is the usual, right? You're still looking at. I'll just use high elves as an example. I could do a Star Dragon, an Archmage, a BSB, and even a Scroll Caddy, and be perfectly fine inside of that points count.
hmm
Which is cool. I guess that'd be fine by me. and now I can, you know.
Right.
It's perfectly acceptable for me to run level 4 mage alongside a Star Dragon with any kind of support that I feel like he needs to survive.
hmm
Or I could do an Anointed on a Flamespire and a Star Dragon and still bring magic support in Heroes.
hmm
Which is the silliest thing.
High elves I'm not looking forward to when you can sink that many points into characters. I really don't. I mean, what does the core rulebook say? You need a minimum of 2 or 3 units to play a game.
I don't know.
I don't know. I always beat the requirement, of course, but I think all right. All you need is 2 infantry unit and then
Yep.
heroes. Like, especially with high elves, when you have the Banner of the World Dragon, you have a lot of defensive stuff to begin with: ward saves, magic res. Just hero bus. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's already happening now.
But why make it worse? Obviously, GW doesn't have the competitive and GT scene in mind. I don't know what they have in mind, really, but it only makes it worse.
Yeah. I mean, my personal opinion is that they want to move Nagash, they want to move Undead, so they make the ability to take Undeath and encourage people to have Undead models sitting on the side. Great. They put the Lords and Heroes to those percentages so that more of your army is represented in smaller model counts, and maybe it's more appealing to those people that are right on the fence saying, I cannot spend this much money on the hobby, but now I can to field an army where I only have X number of models instead of twice that. I get it. I do understand where they could be coming from. But
I feel like if that's the problem they think they're having, then they need to reconfigure their business plan entirely, or just come up with a smaller why not just make a supplement that's, listen, this is going to be, hero scrimmages or some bullcrap like that, because I feel like it's going in it's going to be the Mordheim direction. It's just going to be heroes running around a battlefield.
Yeah.
I might as well just play Mordheim.
I mean, the games are going to go faster now.
Are they? You're gonna be sitting there. Which character's fighting which character? Initiatives are gonna be all over the place. Yeah, there's less infantry rank and file, but I mean,
Yeah.
I think that stuff goes the quickest. I roll my 20 dice, you roll your 30 dice. Like,
Yeah.
it's when we sit there and watch the 2 units collide to each other. Like, who's gonna challenge who? Initiative order, this and that. But
that's probably going to be the only combat in the entire game. You know what I mean?
which I
Yeah.
hate. I mean,
Yeah,
I kind
I
of
do
bit
too.
the bullet, and after I put a lot of my opinions out on YouTube, people were like, "Yeah, screw you, you're stupid." But I love 7th edition. I love MSU. I love a few guys attacking here and there. Yeah, the battles might have taken a little bit longer, the individual combats, but I don't like the whole my horde and hero beats your horde and hero. I just won the game. I mean, I miss it when it was like, well, my left flank is doing great, my right flank isn't, the middle is just a grind. I don't get that now. It's just whoever puts their horde in the right spot wins the game, and whoever can redirect it the longest, which isn't war either. Like, redirecting isn't war whatsoever.
And now it will be, I have 1,200 points of heroes in a single unit. Good luck killing any of that.
Right.
Short of.
And while I say
Siege lines.
redirecting, you're going to be hero redirecting all the time.
Yes.
You're going to have
Yep.
heroes darting out of units. And I mean, it's like the Slayers, the Engineers. You pop them out, just get them in the way.
How about Skaven, man? you could bring pretty much a whole army of engineers. You know?
Engineers with warp lightning muskets, warp muskets.
You could probably bring a shooting army with Skaven.
Well, Skaven's kind of cheesy because there's no limit of the warpstone tokens I could take.
Yeah, I know.
And we were discussing this last night before we even saw this. I could just bring like 10 engineers at level 1 and just give them like 2 tokens each and just warp lightning the shit off the battlefield in just one magic phase. Who cares about Winds of Magic? I'm buying power dice. Who cares if they blow up? It's a 60-point level 1 caster.
Yeah.
It's stupid. To kind of sidetrack here, we got a comment from Skull Crusher King. What are the undead spells in that lore that are even good? I could see that some armies using it well, like summoning stuff in the middle and having your army on the flanks to charge in. Yeah, I mean, it's useful. But I mean, it doesn't have too much offensive and defensive stuff. It's all summoning, isn't it? I've already... Go ahead.
No, go for it. Go for it.
I've already forgotten the lore because I was just like, this is cool, this is dumb. Like, I moved on very quickly. I think there's 4 summoning spells and then one
There's
or 2...
that, yeah. So like the one spell is I think a wound regen.
Okay.
And the 3 spell is essentially Spirit Leech, I think, right? Yes, it's essentially Spirit Leech, except it's a dice roll instead of pure leadership versus leadership.
Okay.
It works out to be about this. It's not really any better, in my opinion, because the average ends up being like it's 2d6 plus 2, so it's average of 9. Most armies have leadership 9, so it's not really. It has the potential for a bigger variance and therefore a bigger payout if you get a high number, but yeah. And then everything else, like you said, is summoning. To be fair, you could summon other casters. You could summon other casters to summon other units. You think about that. You could summon a level 1 undead caster, and then propagate and continue to summon.
I don't know. Nagash is killing me. I wish he wasn't 1,000 points because I wish this didn't have to happen. Like I honestly see they're sitting at their meetings and they're like, oh, this guy's 1,000 points. No one's gonna use him. Let's just say everybody can use 50% heroes. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because somebody commented on one of my older videos because I've got the I have the rules for the White Dwarf on Shield Bearers.
Okay.
It's like the White Dwarf, Bugman, and Gotrek, the Slayer, all 3 of them on one model.
Oh, okay.
And that model is 1,000 points.
Oh.
And for the longest time, people comment, well, this will never happen unless you're playing a 4,000 point game. No, now I can actually field them.
Yeah. Well, you could bring...
You could actually bring just about anybody in that book. Whenever I look at the Chaos book, I'm like, oh, when am I going to bring freaking Sunstrike or whatever, Holek or whatever? I'm like, I have to play like a 3,500 point game. Like, no, you can bring them now.
Let's put it in perspective, man. You could bring a Demon Prince almost fully kitted in a 1,000-point game. You could. You could. And, I mean, it probably work okay as long as there are more cannons. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And that's puts it in a bit of perspective, right?
It's so backwards. In 7th edition, you couldn't have a Lord unless you're playing a minimum of 2,000 points.
Okay.
And you could only have 1. Then it went to, well, you could have up to 25% of your points. You could have as many as you want as long as it's, no more than 500 points. Now it's just take whatever the hell you want.
Yeah. I will be really interested to see how ETC deals with it, because I think that's what we're in for the foreseeable future. Now that they've switched over the tournaments around us to that format, and it's always been prevalent in Europe. I don't know how they're going to deal with it. A lot of the comp that exists now kind of prevents a lot of this nonsense, but they'll have to let some of it slide, I think. They'll have to allow this to flourish and feel itself out,
Right.
I don't know how they're going to accomplish that, but I feel there's a lot more potential now for glaring imbalance and really strong, unpleasant things to play against. Like I don't I've been thinking of just really bad combinations of stuff, none of which I'd probably ever like to play because I mean I'd probably be running something horrifying. They would be doing the same, and I I wouldn't look forward to that game. I guess you know what I mean.
Yeah. I guess.
I don't want to be fighting three warlords on Bonebreaker.
I'm just thinking about that. My Molder list. Is it Molder? Yeah. It would be 2 Hell Pit Abominations, and then 4 Red Ogre Bonebreakers, all running solo, and a Grey Seer and some core. I mean, after yesterday, you cast Death Frenzy on that guy. It's like 12 attacks on a single Red Ogre Bonebreaker. You can run him in a unit if you want. If you do, that means one's decked out for combat, one's decked out for magic res, one's decked out for shooting prevention because they've got trinkets for. I mean, it would be stupid. It would be very dumb, but
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, forget freaking Dwarf Warriors, Dwarf Hammers, Ironbreakers. You're just gonna bring heroes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm thinking about my first army, dwarves. I love bringing heroes. My heroes did so well. Now I can bring like 8 Thames. They don't even need equipment. They already have awesome armor. Give them a great weapon. It's 8 Thames.
Stone and a shield, and they're good to go.
Yeah. I don't know.
So I was looking at it. A perfect example of horror is Dark Elves. You can still bring Warlocks. You can still bring a full Cavalry Corps. Now you can bring more heroes on Pegasi with a level 4 caster on a mounted something, and Reaper Bolt throwers and all sorts of other stuff that would be super fun to play against. It doesn't, in my opinion, help Wood Elves at all. Not at all.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think their strategy changes in the slightest. I shouldn't say that. It might, but
I don't know if we're sidetracking here, but I am going to see how ETC deals with the Lore of Death, because the Lore of Death is a lot more important when you have twice as many heroes running around.
Yep.
And to kind of cap that, I think that they would need to uncap that because it's. I mean, yeah, was it Purple Sun? That's the number 6 spell.
Yep.
Besides that, those leadership spells or the roll-off spells, I feel like you're going to really need those to take out some of the important heroes, especially if there's going to be more of them running around.
Yeah. That worries me a little bit too, though, because you might run into an army where previously you might be able to single out a hero away from General's leadership or something like that. Now there's going to be probably multiple heroes on the board with decent leadership, or in a position to be in a bubble of decent leadership. And it'll be interesting to see. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just thinking of the. All right, go ahead. Go.
No, just Slann and an Old Blood on a Carnosaur. You can fit them in the same points.
You could probably fit a 3rd slot in there.
You could.
You probably could. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the whole Carnival of Chaos thing, but I see there's another comment here, just about for Warriors of Chaos. Since there aren't too many mounted hero models, there's some that are on like demonic mounts that are the bigger one. But if you want to just do a regular Chaos Bard steed, there aren't too many models. But what is floating around everywhere on eBay in people's boxes? And that's just regular Chaos Knights. You turn your Chaos Knights, they already look like heroes. Those models they look badass. You just make those all heroes and lords. I mean, I have 15 of the newer knights sitting in a box somewhere because I don't use them anymore because knights are terrible now. I can paint all those up, make them look awesome, and there I go. I've got 15 heroes and lords.
Yeah. Well, that's what I did with the Dragon Princes that I had. I made them into I basically just converted them into princes and nobles. But
Yeah, I don't know. All right, so Kyle had texted me and he had told me that if Crossroads doesn't comp this out, he probably won't go. And maybe that's just a quick assumption, but he also doesn't like the way that change would affect things. Do you think Crossroads or just local GTs or tournaments will start right off the bat keeping it the way it is, or do you think they'll try it out just to see what happens?
I sincerely hope not. Only because that initial shakeup period is going to be really unpleasant. And you'll see the worst things people can possibly sneak by whatever comp they decide to run.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's nice that they're...
I think,
Yeah. It's nice that they're shaking it up a little bit. It reminds me of like any MMO or video game you're playing where they nerf a certain character class or something, and then all of a sudden you have to re-unlock the game or just try to rediscover what works and what doesn't. And I mean, I've always seen that with StarCraft when I play the game. Every time I go to play it, which is once every like 3 months, they've nerfed something or they buffed something, and it's cool to have that shake up. But like the whole rule change is just wacky because we don't know what we're going to see right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, stagnation is the enemy of innovation, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would much prefer the game to evolve and change, so I'm excited to see what comes out of it. And I'm always giddy when I realize I can do something cool with whatever army you're playing. It's just a question of whether it will be fair and balanced across every army. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect. I mean, Slovenia is this weekend, and unfortunately I'm not going because I'm all tied up as much as I really, really wanted to. Usually, like Crossroads, it says, as of this point, we're going to use such and such and such and such in book, whatever FAQs. I mean, lists should probably be in at this point, of course, but like that's just, the next GT that comes up. I'm just curious. It's part of the book now. Like
it is. It is. But it's funny too because if tournaments now use the current ETC comp, it's almost impossible to do anything with these new points allotments, right? Because you're looking at Ogre ETC comp. I think you can't take Lords in your army if you take something else, right? So now it actually incentivizes you to stay away from whatever it is and just take Lords, fine. But High Elves still can't bring more than, I think, 2 Star Dragons, Frost Phoenixes, Sun Dragons, cumulatively. So there's still a limit there. So even though I could potentially field 2 Star Dragons and 2 Frost Phoenixes, I can't because the comp prevents me. Standard ETC as of right now.
Right.
Which is okay.
So maybe the percentages won't affect ETC as much initially, but what about introducing a new lore that now the core book says is valid?
Is valid. I don't know. It doesn't synergize well with certain armies, but you could build an army very, very easily around using it.
I mean, you've played a lot of High Elves and Ogre Kingdoms. When you've got all those points and good heroes and good units, being able to just summon bodies just to get in the way, how damn useful is that?
Yeah, it is. It is. It's always a trade-off, though. With High Elves, any elf, in my opinion, the magic is pretty critical in keeping them around, either to kill or to survive. And you take that away and you muck around with a bit of the synergy. Like if I'm going to bring a giant cavalry boss, I better have some way to either capitalize on the offense it brings or keep them alive long enough to do what they need to do. I haven't decided whether dropping chaff is sufficient enough to warrant me dropping high magic or whatever I might be bringing. You know?
Even if you bring a level 1 or 2, the Scroll Caddy, would you throw the Lore of Undeath on a Scroll Caddy or something?
I would love to experiment with the whole thing, especially if I can be cheesy and start propagating other casters.
Right. Yeah, that's so weird.
Actually, I have to look at. I don't know how much it is you can bring up with heroes. I'll look right now.
Yeah. We're going actually longer than I thought. We're about a half an hour now. There's 9 people watching, so anyone that is watching and you've got questions or comments or want to chime in, throw your comments below. We'll address them before we finish up, which we will do not too far from now. But after what I've been, for those of you who have keep tabs on my stuff, I haven't put out too much lately for several reasons, and I've got videos on that. But after this today, I listened to a bunch of videos, and I felt like morale was just really low across the board. I mean, you watch Anthony's stuff, which I love watching because it's pretty funny. It's good. But I mean, he could be bitter and funny sometimes. But it's just listening to him, he sounded so like. I didn't watch his video on this topic yet, the 50% lords, but just like GW this, and it's just, I don't know, morale's low for at least when I watch his stuff. I don't watch too much stuff, but I love this game, and I have barely looked at the end time stuff. I mean, I get a freaking email and it's new Nurgle stuff, and I'm like, cool. Like, I'm not excited, which is really disappointing to me because only about 6 months ago I was bitching and moaning. I'm like, why are all the emails always 40K? They're always 40K. Now I'm finally getting my fantasy emails. I'm like, I'm so uninterested, which is so annoying. It's disappointing. And like, unless I actually dig around on the internet or like actually buy this stuff, I don't even know what it is. Like, I don't know. I mean, I can find the rules and the points and stuff, obviously, but like the Warriors of Chaos stuff, the Nurgles. It's Warriors of Chaos, right? It's not demons. The Nurgle guys.
I believe so.
See, we don't even
really know.
We don't even know. We're like, it used to be so clear where it's like, hey, we're going to introduce Skull Crushers to the Warriors of Chaos army. No new army book yet, but we've got something for your army, and it will be in your army. Now it's just kind of like so ambiguous, just out there, where I'm like, what's going on? And no, I'm not going to buy a magazine. I'm not going to buy a freaking White Dwarf or I don't even remember what the other one's called. But I don't know. What about Ogre Kingdoms with hunters riding the Stonehorn, as many as you can fit, and the 2 you can get in rare? Holy crap. Skull Crusher King is onto something here. So, let's see.
Or how about just 3 tyrants across the front of an Ogre Iron Gut Horde? You can do lots of stupid stuff, yeah.
That's so dumb.
But then again, that's a cool new way to play ogres.
No, it's an old way to make it worse. It's making an old way worse.
It's
fun
and potentially viable way to play ogres, I guess.
Oh, that's so many tyrants. What do they got? 5 wounds each, toughness 5.
I have no idea. Yes, there's something horrifying.
Dude,
but like even the Stonehorns, though, even the hunters, maybe you can make that work. I don't know. Can't break steadfast, but.
No, but you can get what, 5 of them? 2 in rare, and then maybe 3 on the hunters.
How much is a Stonehorn?
250 plus the hunter, so you're looking at 3 something. Yeah. Let's say you're at 330, you can fit 3 in there.
Yeah.
That's I don't know. What other mounted things are there that are just out of control?
For any army?
Oh my gosh, I can field a unit of Skull Crushers that are actually just characters on Skull Crushers.
Yep. You could, I was thinking, somebody mentioned a little bit about it earlier. You could do, like, a whole Orcs and Goblins heroes of, like, goblins on giant spiders. I laughed at that. I don't think that's going to do any good, but it's funny. You could do it.
It's funny, yeah.
And that could be 50% of your army, though, Nick. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Wait, the spider, the goblin on a spider, is that a lord? On their Ragnarok?
I don't know. I think there's giant spider mounts for the little guys, right?
No, but there's also the Ragnarok, right?
So yeah, you could do 75% of your army as spiders with core, as night goblins or whatever, and fanatics. Throw some fanatics in there. Why not? See, that's a new way to play orcs and goblins. That's cool.
And it's fun and not overpowered because the spiders are cool. I don't think they're too overpowered. Yeah, I'd have to figure out how to deal with them, but I mean, that's not as scary as saying I'm gonna have my 5 heroes on disc run up behind you, kill all your war machines, and then charge 1 unit at a time. Like,
yeah. It's the people who will take this change and apply it functionally to a competitive army that's going to make me sad, I think.
so if you had to pick one army, which one do you think is gonna walk away making the most out of this?
Oh, it's too early to tell.
I mean, we've spoken a lot about warriors and high elves, but
yeah,
I feel like the armies that use heroes for blunt force, not just support. Like, yeah, having more casters and stuff is fine, but wins of magic is always random. The ones where you could just put heroes on mounts or heroes in units or heroes together or on foot and just go for it. I think that's what's going to be scary. Those armies.
Yeah, I agree. So you're going to look like ogres. Let's talk ogres. You could field a unit of man-eaters, a unit of iron guts, and have the entire front of each of them be heroes.
Hordes. You forgot to mention hordes.
Yes. Yeah, you could field, like, you could buy 6 man-eaters and whatever you want in core for iron guts, and have the front 3 or 4 of each unit be heroes with toughness 5, 4 to 5 wounds, and some armor save or war save, and just have that. Purple Sun will still eat that army alive, so that's probably not a great example, but too early to tell. There will be a big shakeout.
So, are we playing a game tomorrow?
Would you like to with the new config?
Maybe. I mean, talking about it after all this talk, I'm kind of excited, but I'm still dreading it all at the same time.
I think that's the appropriate response. Excitement should be legitimately there, but it has the potential to break the game.
Yes.
Which, here's the thing. As is, right, uncomped, no comp whatsoever on a tournament, would you ever be willing to play uncomped Warhammer with 50% boards and heroes?
No.
Not amongst friends, out amongst strangers who are trying to win a tournament.
No, I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't either.
Because there's going to be that douchebag out there.
There's going to be a few. Yeah, you're bound to run into a few. There's probably going to be at least one in the cycle of players you play.
It's going to be the dual Demon Prince list.
I'm not super scared. Okay, that's still horrifying, but...
Come on, that is devastatingly horrifying.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's going to be no chimeras. Because, remember, you got to get your special in there.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I'd rather have a chimera flying bodyguard to each Demon Prince than bring Skull Crushers or something like that. You know what I mean? That's like 1,400 points right there between 2 Demon Princes.
I would mix that and the idea from earlier: 2 Demon Princes and then a hero bus with just Marauders.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh. Uh-oh. Yeah, because the Marauders don't have to do anything. They just have to sit there and let the heroes get where they need to go.
I mean, let's face it. If somebody's killing one of your 5 Warriors of Chaos heroes, then you deserve to start losing the game.
Yes.
I mean...
Yeah. Fucking cannon shot. Oh, actually, that's a problem. You just have to make sure there was rank and file models in each rank so that you could randomly distribute a cannon shot or a bolt thrower shot to a non-hero model. But that's easy enough to do. You just leave the command group in the front for a while until you get into combat.
Yeah. Well, any other topics or main points? I'll check to make sure there's no other comments. And, oh, there's actually a handful. Okay. All right, let's answer them quick and then we'll get
Sure.
out. William Page, I definitely agree it's making an old way of playing worse, lol. I suggested to my friend Max Warlock engineers to avoid combat completely. Chaff and double fleas everywhere. Matt S. said 34 Goblin Heroes with great weapons is about 1,200 points. That's about 100 strength, 6 attacks.
Oh, that's right. They're toughness 4. Oh.
34 Goblin Heroes with great weapons.
That is cool, though. Some of these things are not cool. The ability to create entire new structures within an army, that is cool. Will it be abused horribly? Yeah.
I'm just thinking about how many Skaven chieftains I could bring with halberds. They're like less than like 50 points. They're like 43 points each or something.
They're what, 45? Yeah, so maybe
45 plus the halberd is like 47, 48.
Yep.
It's not only about having those guys down, it's the fact that you have to differentiate where the wounds are going.
Yes.
And that's where like wounds like attacks disappear and stuff, and it just goes into thin air.
Yep.
LOL. Go ahead.
Go for it.
No. LOL, yes, Nick, with the Wars of Chaos, you could have like 4 heroes on Juggernauts and a unit of like 7 or 8 Skull Crushers. So even if you get hit on the flank, you should be 2 models deep, and then the heroes would make way. Oh my gosh.
Well, see Frenzy. Frenzy is the death of that unit, unfortunately.
I guess, yeah.
2 pieces of impassable terrain in the middle of the board, and an eagle to kite the king around all day.
No, you're forgetting. Those heroes are good no matter what they're doing, solo or not. It's not a unit. Those heroes can disperse at any moment and go wherever the hell they want.
True.
So you're going to put an eagle there. Okay, my unit of 4 guys turns into 4 units of 1 guy.
Yeah. But, that problem is, though, you won't have a lookout, sir. Cannons will be killing 1 a turn, maybe more. They have a low wound count because they're not,
Well, there's a silver lining on that, because if they're shooting your Skull Crushers, then that means your demons and princes are getting into combat. Your demon princes with an S.
Oh, that hurts a little bit.
With next book release, you may be facing combined Chaos armies. Yeah. Jeez. What else do we got? 3 Dwarf Lords on Shield Bearers, having 1+ armors with toughness 10 and -1 to hit them, and other 2 at 4+ ward save, toughness 6 with some other gear. That is scary. That is very scary.
That is scary. That would have to be a Vanguard list, though, right? To make use of that? See,
I don't care. Then it's points denials.
Yeah, but certain armies like Dwarves and Wood Elves and other shitty stuff, who are predominantly shitty, I won't say all-encompassingly shitty, but you start dropping those points into heroes, and you lose cannons, and war machines, and gyrocopters, and things like that that keep you alive, unless you're running a full combat list, and then fine, have at it. Go for it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Same with Wood Elves, right? If you start bringing too many heroes, the core function of your army starts to dissipate, which is just stay away and shoot stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. Having all those dwarf heroes down on a foot just sounds like so much fun.
It does sound fun. That does sound fun.
James Rose says Beastman could take a whole lot of solo Doombles and Gorbles.
Oh,
didn't even
I was thinking about that earlier. Yeah, their heroes are better than.
Their heroes are decent. So to be able to put more of them in, and then he says put chariots for core.
Yep. Yeah, okay, breathing some life into some old things, like rats maybe, potentially, although they kind of max out on frontage for heroes anyways, but...
One last thing, and then we can wrap up. What does this do for, say, Tomb Kings? Besides Nagash, just Tomb Kings and not even the Lore of Undeath, being able to bring more heroes. Does it do anything for them? Because we see it does something for Bretonnia. Does it do something for the Tomb Kings? Another army that's kind of subpar.
Potentially. I don't think from the combat perspective, although of course I may be not thinking it through. I think the beauty of having more points to spend is that you can spend them on horrifyingly big things. in giant lump sums. With Tomb Kings, you could potentially throw a prince or a king into every unit and have them crazy weapon skill, but they don't have a whole lot of ridden heroes.
Could the prince or king go on top of a war sphinx?
I don't.
Or is it only chariots?
I don't actually know. Tomb King chariots probably.
Chariots, yes. Chariots I know for sure.
I don't think I've ever heard of them being on top of a sphinx.
Because if they could be on top of a war sphinx. The war sphinx is the ones that are manned, right?
Wait, what was that?
The ones that have the guys on them, that's the war sphinx, right?
Yeah, the Khemrian War Sphinx? Yeah.
Yeah. What's the other one?
There's the
big one, that's just the guy.
There's the Hydra Titan, which is the magic buff dude, and then there's the guy with the heroic killing blow, which I don't remember his name.
Yeah, I forgot what sphinx that is. Anyway.
But on the flip side, though, they can bring a whole lot of casters and raise undead units like crazy. That could be cool. That could be functional.
I would just bring a big horde of archers and then just heroes. 10 heroes in the front.
Archers, man.
10 heroes in the front.
Tomb Kings have the ability to have a very strong magic phase if they want it. And with the ability to bring more casters of a strong level whilst also having decent combat support. It's maybe something cool. I don't know.
Well, if they do that and they do bring Undeath, then they can just bring Hero Titans and the Altar. What's the thing?
Is the lore the Legions of Undead?
The lore is, I thought it was Winds of Undeath or something.
No, I'm saying the models that they summon, what are they coming from?
I thought it was
Legions.
Yeah.
So, does that mean they could summon Terrorgeists?
Yeah. Yeah. It's stupid. I'm just saying the magic, the Hero Titan and the Casket of Souls.
Yep.
D3 power dice or whatever you get.
Yep. Bring a level 4 of whatever it is. Actually, shit. Oh well, see, it doesn't help you so much now. But you could have substituted the Lore of the Hack-Ara for just strictly the Lore of Undeath.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can do that now and escape that penalty, like Orcs and Goblins. They want to get away from the WoG? Fine. That's the first time ever that they'll be able to take something other than the WoG and not be penalized for it.
That's true.
Yeah.
Think about that. Huh.
Yeah.
Now lists like the runaround high elves and the runaround wood elves and the runaround high elves, whatnot, that bring 2 level 4s with good synergy of lores. What synergy of 3 different lores is going to work together? Because you can bring 3 level 4s.
Yeah.
Like that's a whole new ball game now that this is all official. Where like, what else? What would they do? They would do Shadow and Death? No, what was...
Traditionally, they bring High to protect their bunker of sisters in the Thorn.
That's right, they can bring High?
If you run that bunker, that's usually what you should probably do.
Okay.
If you're going to run 2 casters, it's usually High and something that augments their shooting.
Okay.
Shadow and Death kind of work. Shadow's better, I think, but Death can still do the job. The problem is in 8th, most armies are starved for dice, with the exception of maybe the Tomb Kings and a couple of others. So,
oh my god.
What's up?
Sorry, finish your thought, and then I got a crazy idea.
Okay. So, level 4s, you start to... I feel like you would never be able to use the functionality they bring to the game.
Okay. Yeah.
You'd have a massive spread of options, but you probably wouldn't be able to fully effectively make use of them and get your money's worth out of the points you'd be spending.
Right. Especially with Winds of Magic being so damn random.
Yeah.
Alright, so the thing that popped into my mind before. Lore Master of Hoeth or whatever.
Doesn't get it.
He doesn't?
Doesn't. He explicitly states the 8 BRB lores. So it's not in the BRB, so he wouldn't get that additional spell.
But does he count as a caster?
He does. He does, but his rule book, I think, probably overwrites
Okay, because it says that any wizard can take it. So he's a
Yes.
level 2 wizard that
That
could potentially take it.
the rules explicitly state he
Okay.
brings the signature from each of the basic 8 floors.
Well,
Same
keep
with
an eye
templates too.
keep an eye out on the High Elf FAQ, because the second you can get that lore in there. I forget what the signature spell is for that, but
The signature is the infantry raiser. So I could raise infantry units, which what does that mean?
I don't know.
I think that's where you could sneak heroes in. Oh.
You know what? It's weird because each of those spells, 4 or 5 of them raise something, but it's raise this for this cost or raise this for a different cost. So there's so many different ways. I forget what it is. One's like raise this infantry or raise this cavalry or special or rare.
Oh, you're right. It's the number 5 spell that raises heroes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, all right, cool. So there's no other comments, and I think this was a pretty fun discussion. And maybe we'll play a game tomorrow. I'll see what's going on, but I say if we do this 50% lore, 50% lords and heroes, let's try it at a smaller points value instead of 2,500. What do you think? Or do you want to go straight for the 2,500 and just rock and roll?
I think we should probably rock and roll because at lower points levels, that disparity becomes more apparent. If I can bring a... Dude, I could bring a... Yes, I could bring... If we do 1,200 points, 1,250, I could bring a Star Dragon. I could bring a Star Dragon at that points level. I could squeak one in for 600, 615 points, and that's right about 50% of 1,200, 1,250. Which,
How about 3 scarcely equipped demon princes? What are they? What are they to start? 300 points?
no.
What are they? 400 points to start? No. What is the demon prince?
No, they're lower. They're lower than that.
No, I think they're 300 points to start. No.
You end up paying about 100 for casting levels. Easily another 100 in. Yeah, maybe you're right. Probably right around there.
Because the casting levels are like 35 points each, 45 points each or something.
Yep.
So if you're paying no casting levels, because you don't really need to, because you could just bring like 5 level 2s for all you care.
And just that'd be your whole army. Mini core, a bunch of casters and 2 demon princes to run across the board and kill things.
All right, 2,500 it is.
Let's try it out.
Okay.
See how badly it goes.
Okay. And then I'll actually report this game. I haven't put up a battle report since my computer started getting on the fritz.
Okay. Would you like me to play High Elves, or would you like me to play something ridiculous like Warriors or...
I was thinking of playing Warriors.
Okay.
What do you want to play? I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, I could also do Skaven, but I don't have a lot of... I just don't know what I would do. I don't know. We'll talk about it through the day.
Yeah, sure.
All right, cool. All right, man. I'm going to stop the broadcast. Hold on
Sounds
one
good.
second.